Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Thursday night, 9 o'clock time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. We've got lots of rugby to talk about this weekend. Perhaps not as much as we've had at some of the weekends past. We've got no Champions Cup, no Challenge Cup this weekend, but we do have the Gallagher English Premiership. We'll also talk Super Rugby Aotearoa and Super Rugby AU. Those competitions, of course, are building to a climax at the moment, so we'll get the panel's opinions on that, and we'll have a bit of a look at the outright betting as well. But anyway, let's welcome the guests first, starting at the top of the screen there. Hendrik Swart, all the way from Cape Town. Hendrik, good to have you back on the show. Are you on mute, Hendrik?
Sorry, Brent. Yeah, just
no
mute.
problem.
You always have issues with me with the sound when I'm on, so I tried to mute. Yeah, forget about that. No, I'm good, and I'm glad to be back on again. Haven't been on the best of runs with rugby, but looking to turn it around this weekend. Let's see how it goes.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure you're going to find us a few winners. And then joining us from Centurion, or should I say Woodhill there in Pretoria East. We've still got to hook up for that beer sometime, but I see you're getting a bit of a head start on me tonight there. Brendan Wessels, a.k.a. the conductor. Good to have you back, mate.
How's it, Brent? Yeah, lovely to be back and always on the show. And yeah, man, lovely to chat to you boys again. Would have liked to have been on the show last week because I had so many more favourites. I was so much, I was so much more stronger on those kind of bets. But yeah, it's as you say, not as much rugby this weekend, but hopefully we can find some winners.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the people who will be joining us in the live chat. I always find the numbers pick up as the show goes on. And welcome to Mark and Cerebral Assassin who've already made their comments there, and we're welcoming Hendrik back as well. But gents, a good week of rugby to look forward to. And conductor, I'm going to start with you, and then just as I bring you in there, I'm going to bring up the. Let's start off with the New Zealand rugby because that's the first game of the weekend. I'll bring up the outright betting there at the bottom of the screen. So if anything catches your eye, you want to talk about anything like that, just shout. But we'll get on to the first game tomorrow morning, conductor. We've got the Highlanders against the Blues. This is, of course, under the roof. I've actually got the stadium there as the background. And here we got a situation where I priced plus 6.5. The opening line was plus 4.5. And it seems to have settled now at plus 5.5. There was a definite movement from 4.5 to 5.5. It seems to have settled. And I'm just wondering if some of the conductor money is what pushed it out from 4.5 to 5.5.
Yeah, Brent, let's firstly chat on what a crazy week it was last weekend for the Kiwi comps, where both of them went down to the golden point. I don't think I've ever seen that in one weekend where both Aotearoa games go to extra time. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't able to watch the Highlanders versus Chiefs game, but I believe it was a bit messy in parts there with a bit of a good finish. I like the Blues here. And we always, and I know what the WhatsApps will fly tomorrow morning about how you can't trust the Blues and the often you don't, etc.
They haven't changed.
No, exactly. They're the same old Blues. But no, looking at that lineup, it's difficult to go against them with four All Black props. The only guy that they're missing, I'd like to see back is Patrick Tuipulotu. But the least trio of Dalton Papali'i, the big red dog, Robinson, and Sotutu, the number 8, the 8th man. It's a really, really strong loose trio. And Highlanders missing Paddy Parkinson is a big loss. And so our fancy there is a Blues in the minus. I just wonder how much the Highlanders will have left in the tank after that 85 minutes against the Chiefs. It really looks like they gave it all. But I think probably the bigger play will be the unders there. I think unders is between 52.5 and 54.5. I see in Europe. It's always a good go-to with Brendan Pickerel on the whistle. He always tends to blow against the attacking team, so he just negates all the momentum in the game. And the big thing for me is a guy like Dalton Papali'i as a fetcher. He is just so vital in those 5 meter, when the guys are 5 meters from the line, those big turnovers, etc. So, he's really the kind of guy that keeps that unders in place. So, I'm on the minus 4.5. I haven't pulled the trigger on unders yet, but they'll be my big play.
Excellent. Well, I know one of our Good for the Game forum members, Chiefy, is very, very much on the unders. He's always opposing or Pickerel when it comes to the overs markets there. So he's on them. So just a reminder, you can go down below the video to see the Good for the Game rugby thread for the week. And also, of course, subscribe to our newsletter. I've hit a bit of a wobbly patch. I'll cover that a little bit later, but the last couple of weeks haven't gone according to plan. But hopefully tomorrow we bounce back to form. But let's head up to Henrik. Henrik, we've got the points line sitting, as Brendan says, anywhere from 52.5 to 54.5, and the handicap at 5.5 generally across the board.
Brent, I enjoy Chiefy. I enjoy his posts, and I know he's a bit, he's tantrums, but I like him on the forum, and I'm with him here on this. And I know most of the guys rate Brendan Pickerel as an unders ref like I do. So yeah, I'm happy to take the unders. I haven't got a bet down on this game yet, but unders is definitely going to get some of my money here. And I'm with Brendan on the Blues as well. I like the minus. But I think a good bet here is the half-time, full-time on the Blues as well. You can get about 9 to 10. I think that's a good one. I expect them to start off quickly. And the forwards should dominate the Highlanders pack. But they've got a few injuries. And Dixon not really firing this year. So I expect the Blues to dominate up front. And I like the big red dog like Brendan does as well. So I like that half-time, full-time. So in this game, even though I like the unders and like the minus, I think the Blues half-time, full-time, 9 to 10. That's a bad bet for me. That's the best bet on this game for me. And yeah, that newsletter bet of you, we're gonna sort it out this week, I think.
Yeah, no, we got to get it right. I know Chiefy's telling me I must go unders. The problem I have with this game for the newsletter bet is that it's so bloody early in the morning. And I've got so much to do on a Friday morning. By the time I get the newsletter out, we've normally missed the first game, but we'll see what we can do about that. Just to mention what happened to me last week, Brendan, I mean, the newsletter bet was Chiefs over 25.5 points. And then I tipped that at player bets at the time. And I then decided to press the bet. And I had quite a big interest at Sunbet over 25.5. And Sunbet are the only bookmaker that quote the overtime. So the Chiefs ended on 23, and they had their chances to get to the 26, certainly, which would have landed the bet. And then, thankfully, the overtime counted, and they scored the points in overtime, and I won the bet. And that actually turned my whole weekend. I honestly was on the verge of packing up betting for a couple of weeks because things hadn't been going well. Suddenly, that turned. I even had a cycling winner at, I think, 18 or 20 to 1 later in the day. One of those things, it was just pure chance that I'd happened to press it at Sunbet. But, yeah, sometimes your weekend does swing on these moments, and let's hope I can keep the momentum going. Conductor, just one thing. Dave has just sent a message there. Dave is watching on Facebook. Conductor, Sarah is watching the show. Do I need to be jealous? I'm not too sure what that means. But I gather that you do. But sounds like at the very least we got one female viewer. Henrik, Kevin asking you, what about the Landers under, Highlanders under? What do you think on that one?
Yeah, Brent, I just replied to him on the chat.
Oh, yes.
I like that. This is an unders game, but under the roof and with the New Zealand teams, you're just always nervous, and the early 20s line, anything can happen. So I like the under 23, and often, even if the Islanders score 3 tries and miss 1 conversion and keep 1 penalty, you'll still be all right. But I think the safer route here is just go for the Blues. Go Blues half-time, full-time at 9 to 10. I think that's the bet.
Yeah, I'd also been eyeing out that one. I must say, I like that one. I've also gone for a small interest on the Blues. I missed the early 4.5, but gone for a bit of 5.5 there. Let's move on to the next game then. I don't have a points line for this one, unfortunately. If anybody in the live chat has seen points here, I've looked at quite a few bookies and couldn't find anything, then do mention it. But we've got the Chiefs plus 5.5 against the Crusaders. And Conductor, let's start with you on this one. I don't know. Let me quickly look at what I handicapped this game. I handicapped this game as Chiefs plus 7.5, so pretty close to where I put it. I think it opened at 7.5, and there has been some money for the Chiefs.
Yeah, Brent, it's always tough going against Crusaders. I don't think they've been at their best in the last 2 games. Losing to the Highlanders and coming from behind against the Hurricanes. I don't think they've been at their best. Losing a guy like Joe Moody, super experienced, and lost Goodhue as well to a bad knee injury. But saying that, it's incredibly tough to go against them. Even though it's in Waikato, in the Chiefs' home ground, that probably wouldn't be my main play. I'd like to look at the points line. The way the Chiefs are set up, they look like they're going to play running rugby, and the Crusaders like that. They actually like it when guys come at them. They like to catch them on the counter attack. So they've got Damien McKenzie set up at 10 and Chase Tiatia at 15, and that just sort of that just says to me it's running rugby all day for the Chiefs. They're going to try and outrun the Crusaders, and it should be good rugby. The weather looks okay for that game, so I'd like to look at the points. I'd probably take small on Crusaders just because they're the Crusaders, but I've got a feeling they've probably got their eye on next week where they play the Blues at home in Christchurch, and that might be a preparation for the final as well. So I've got a feeling they might be prepping more for that game, but. It's always tough going against Crusaders. They're just so clinical, and you just don't know if they've got, if they show up on Saturday morning and give the Chiefs an absolute smashing. A guy like Lochem is back, and he is big, 100%. But I'd like the way the Chiefs are set up. They look like they're set up for good running rugby.
Yeah, I find myself leaning towards the Chiefs there a little bit as well. But I'll chase Tier when that guy comes on, and I know he's normally a substitute, but there's something about that guy. From his name to the way he plays, it just screams points, doesn't it? I mean, he does make things happen. Henrik, let's go to you on this game. The handicap, are you one of the guys who maybe grabbed the early plus 7.5 there?
Brent, so what did this open? I didn't monitor it closely enough.
I saw it opened at 7.5. It opened at 7.5, and it seems, well, look, I went on to bet Olymp have got 5.5. I haven't looked. Normally there's a point or two variety with the bookmakers, but there's definitely 5.5 at the moment.
Yeah, with the Crusaders' current form, there's probably not much merit, but I think it's too low. Even with the win in Dunedin last week, the Chiefs didn't impress me. I expected them to win easier in Dunedin, so I'm going to go on the Crusaders here. I don't like Damien McKenzie at 10. I know he's an exciting player, but he's much better at 15 than at 10. I don't see him being a general at 10. And Chase Tiatia, he's a good player. I like him. So that's a bit of a plus. But I just, this Chiefs team, I can't have them. And like I said, it's difficult to back the Crusaders on current form because they are showing a bit of a wobble at the moment. But and I'm not as confident as the previous game, but I think I'm on the Crusaders here. But that, like Brendan said as well, it would be interesting to see what the points line would be here, because I think if the weather is good in Hamilton, you should give a bit of points, and with the lower handicap, you should get a good quote on the Crusaders points. I'll go over some Crusaders points here, or tries maybe.
Well, one thing I can tell you, Henrik, if I'm taking points overs on any of the teams or on the match itself, and all the bookies are aligned, I'm going with Sunbet. I'm keeping that option, that overbet option, that overtime option there. Of course, the contrast being, I mean, if I was on under Chief 25.5 there, I would have been devastated that it went to overtime and I lost. So just something to watch out for as a punter. Make sure you understand if overtime is included or not. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I think I'm definitely going to focus my attention on the points lines, and I'll probably bring the good for the game preview out once I've seen the points lines. But, gents, let's move then on to some Australian action. Just to mention to the guys who enjoy Couch Critics tips, we do have his previews up on the Good for the Game website. But not only that, we got some of his summary of his bets at the end of the show that we'll cover there as well. And we'll see what he's doing. I know he's been watching and betting on a lot of cricket at the moment, so I think he was a bit exhausted tonight. I did offer him the opportunity to pop on right at the end and give us some input, but he's a bit buggered. Let's go into Super Rugby AU. And the first thing we can look at there is the outright betting scrolling down below. And here we got a competition on our hands. We've got the Reds around about the 15 to 20 mark, 7 to 10, 15 to 20, depending on where you shop. Brumbies 13 to 10, Rebels at 12.5 to 1. And the Force look a bit skinny for me there at about 32 to 1. So those are the outright prices, and gents, feel free to comment if there's anything there. But let's start with you, Henrik. Force minus 6.5 against the Waratahs.
No, Brent, the Force, they're like a rash. They don't go away. So they're kind of team, it's tough to oppose them, but at home, so you lean towards the Force with the Waratahs' current form. But I looked at the teams here, and looking at the teams right now, and it's a bit of a patchy backline for the Waratahs, but I still think the plus is the way to go here. Even with the Force beating the Rebels away from home last week, I think just plus 6.5. I think I would price this closer to a choice game. even with the bad form from the Waratahs. So, yeah, Waratahs in the plus here for me. I'm not sure about points on this one. With the force attacking play, you probably can't go this year. And I'm not sure about points. I hope Brendan can help us out with the points. But my only play here would be Waratahs in the plus, a small play.
Right. Now, interesting. Before I bring Brendan in on this one, and he can comment on the points which are up there as well, I've had a look at this game, and I'm very much with you, Henrik. I think the Waratahs on the plus, but I've actually got a feeling the Waratahs are, in Oracle fashion, worth supporting on the board here. I'm seeing that there's a bit of a 12-5 available. That's basically 24-10 of the Waratahs on the board, and I think they can push this force side. I expected more of the force this season, quite frankly. A couple of Argentinian guys coming in. And I suppose, to me, though, they've actually got too many old-timers in their side. They need perhaps a bit more youth. And the one thing about this Waratahs side is I was impressed by them in patches. I mean, yes, they were getting hammered. They've now had a change in coaching staff. They certainly showed improvement in their last game, going down by 2 points to the Brumbies. They've had a week off to really focus. And I think this could be it. I think this could be the Waratahs win. So I'm going for them on the board there at just shy of 5-2. And over to you, conductor, and see if you're in agreement with me there.
Yeah, Brent, when I looked at this game initially, I did think, I agree with you. I did think there might be a bit of value in the Waratahs straight win. But, this is definitely not a game that if you're down the weekend, you want to chase the losses, because you're only going to end up in the Kimberley hole with this sort of game, because really it can go either way. The force look a bit better with Tim Anstey back. I quite like him. I mean, it's they scraped a win against a very, very poor Rebel side last week, but a win is a win. I mean, they scored one try in that game. My initial favorite was, I was hoping for a line 47.5, but I see it's 45.5. I'd still take that unders, except for Amy Perrott, and she's a bit difficult to try and figure out. She doesn't tend to blow a lot. I saw that Rebels game, that Rebels versus.
What's your language, Dan? What's your language?
Sorry. I didn't mean like it. I didn't mean like that.
Brendan, did you say she doesn't blow a lot?
She doesn't blow the penalties a lot. So she was quite lenient. I'm trying to think of my language before I say it now. She was quite lenient on the breakdown in that Rebels versus Reds game. She didn't give a lot to the Rebels in terms of penalties. So it's tough. It's tough to try and imagine what her refereeing style will be like for that game. But I'd probably still take unders there. I can see it being an absolute dog show. Force struggle to score. Waratahs struggle to score. I can just see it being absolute mistake fest on Saturday morning. So that would be my preference. But I tend to side with Henrik and what you're saying there. I think the Waratahs might be on the plus, might be the way to go. But I do see the Force will have a full crowd for that game. So, for me, it's a coin toss. I'd rather look at overs, unders, and I'd like to look at unders on that game.
Right, we're just having a look in the live chat. We've got someone else who's definitely been a follower of Oracle over time. He's saying Granny's pension on the Force cap, and Fire Rat agreeing with him. So we've got quite a big division here. So the boys are going against the panel. Nothing wrong with that, lads. There's been many a profitable week when you've gone against the panel. But hold on, Fire Rat actually saying Tars plus 6.5 is an early Christmas gift. So maybe I misread that there. But anyway, yeah. So the points lines, we'll have a look closer to the time. But for me, I'm quite firm on the Waratahs. I think they're going to actually get their first win here. Let's move on to the next game. And conductor, I'm going to stay with you. I don't have a points line here, unfortunately, but I do have the handicap. Rebels plus 6.5 against the Brumbies.
Yeah, Brent, it's tough. I like the Brumbies and the minus there. It's another game. I won't empty the bank accounts on. I'll probably go small on the Brumbies. Purely because they've got a couple of, not guys missing, but I think they're rotating. They've got Bailey Kunzel at 12. They've got two fresh flankers in. But, they've still got their tight five of CO, Falafa Inga, Alatoa, Caden Neville. So it's still a solid tight five there. With Gordon Lonergan ahead of Nick White, who's on the bench. So, I'd still take Brumbies in the minus. The Rebels, to me, just look incredibly badly coached. They had no clue. I mean, I actually lost count about how many chances they butchered against the Force. They just actually probably butchered, I reckon, about 10 easy opportunities there. And it looks like there's a lot of issues there at the Rebels. Look, I'm sure that they'll get up for the game and be competitive. The big thing for them is they lost Reece Hodge, who's at their 3-point option from long range. So it's difficult to see them scoring. They've got a guy like Frank Lamani, who's actually been one of their better players, who's actually a scrum half by trade. He started on the right wing. Matt Tamura is horribly out of form. I mean, he cost me massive money in that Rebels versus Reds game where he just threw intercept passes, missed sitter kicks. I can't see him being the 10 for the Aussies going forward. He's just really, really out of form. The guys like Issa Nasarani coming back for the Rebels, who is, average as the day is long. I've got no time for him. So, for me, the Brumbies should bounce back, from their loss against the Reds. I really rate Dan McKellar as a good coach. They're well drilled. They should put this past the Rebels. I think the Brumbies will want to get their momentum going towards the final.
Yeah, okay. I must say, I'm also struggling a little bit with this one. I know, Henrik, I'm sure you'll agree as well. There's certain people, every now and again, you fancy something and then someone else comes in and says something else. And some people, you'll ignore it totally. But there's certain people, when they fancy something, you sort of have another look at it. And I did see Thoughts on Sports, I think, like the Rebels on the plus here. And that had me a little bit worried. But I was so unimpressed with the Rebels. Not their overall game. They actually can play a decent game, but they cannot create try-scoring opportunities. And when they do, they seem not to be able to finish them. And I just can't bring myself to back the Rebels plus here. Where's your money?
Yeah, Brent, I've got a lot of respect for Neil, sort of Thoughts on Sport. So, yeah, it's obviously a concern that he likes the Rebels and he likes the Rebels strong, yeah. So that's a concern, but I just can't back the Rebels. And like Brendan said, Matt Tamua, he's so out of form. He just throws those skip passes all the time. Last week, he didn't learn. I think he threw about 3 or 4 of those skip passes. And every time they're nicely on an attack and he throws a skip pass and he just stops the whole attack. So
and even if the pass lands, it still doesn't gain much. All it does is you get it to the guy who's standing on the touchline. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
All the inside defenders doesn't have to do anything. They just shift to the touchline. So it doesn't make sense the way they attack. They can't score tries. I think even Rebels under some tries might be a good bet here, but I haven't looked at the line or what the line should be. I can't back the Rebels. Like I said earlier today, I know WhatsApp chat, it's only a case for me of I shouldn't back the Brumbies here. So it's either backing the Brumbies or no bet here for me. I quickly checked on one of the bookmakers' sites, the half-time, full-time, and the Brumbies again. The bet I brought up in the Blues game, and Brumbies at about 5 to 6 if you shop around. You can get 5 to 6 from Brumbies half-time, full-time. I think that's worth the bet if you're really looking for a bet here. But this is again not a game where I will get massively involved unless I'm down for the weekend. Because this is on Sunday, right? Yeah. So, but normally, like Brendan said in the previous game, not a game to chase on. We normally chase on the top 14 on the Sunday night about 9 o'clock.
On SABC.
That's my thoughts, Brent. Brumbies for me or nothing here. So I will probably be looking at some kind of unders on the Rebels because the Brumbies defense normally isn't that bad. And then I like the Brumbies half-time, full-time a bit.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to come back to you for your best bets now, Henrik. But before we do that, I'm just going to run through Couch Critics bets here because Bet Olymp have sent them through. You can go to the Good for the Game website and find his articles. He also does previews on NRL and RPL. And he has this knack of finding big price winners. And I see one of his favorite players is there in the picture as well. And I think if I'm not mistaken, he's backed him to score a try this week. So just have a look. Highlanders, Blues, he likes the Highlanders by 1 to 8 at halftime. The Blues to win by 13 plus, and that's at 28 to 1. Ash Dixon to score. I mean, this is a given when it comes to Couch Critic. He's always going to have Ash Dixon. He loves his hookers. But Ash Dixon to score the first try and Blues to win at 22 to 1. Anytime try scorer Tom Robinson at 4. and last try scorer Akiri Aoni at 16-1. Chief Crusaders, he's gone Crusaders 9+ at the break, Crusaders 1-12 at the end of the game at 8.5-1. Force Waratahs, he's got first Waratahs try scorer Carlo Tizano at 16s, last try scorer Andrew Reddy at 25. Rebels Brumbies, he's also got Brumbies by 9+, and then by Brumbies 1-12, which is an interesting bet. You're basically saying the team will start quick and then sort of ease off in the second half, but still get the win. And that's at 9-1. And then his favourite, Falau Fianga, to score the first try, and the Brumbies to win at 10s. Last try scorer Tom Banks at 16. Just to mention, Bet Olymp pricey specials up, especially for couch critics. So you're not going to find a lot of these bets, or any of these bets, I don't think, at other bookmakers. So you would need to get your Bet Olymp going, and you can follow some of couch critics' value there. Right, Henrik, let's get into your best bets. Anything, though, that maybe before you start that stood out there from couch critic?
Yeah, I'm not the big try scorer bet, and all that. Those margins and stuff confuse me. I try to keep it a bit simple. I like to just keep on the handicaps and maybe a bit of points, but all those handicaps seem a bit for my small brain, it confuses me. So I'm gonna go for the Blues here, Brent. Of all the 4 games, the other 3 games, I'm a bit on the fence here, but I like the Blues a lot this weekend. I would like to oppose the Highlanders, and I also like the Blues. So I'm strong on the Blues, and I think that halftime, full-time at 9-10, I think that's a great bet. If you shop around, you might even get some even money somewhere, but I think halftime, full-time, Blues, that's a great bet. And if I don't like anything in the Australian games, maybe a bit of overs in the Crusaders, on the Crusaders as well, but no. That's my best. The last, just something else. don't follow my advice here, but Pakistan to win the last T20 as well.
Yeah, they're about 13 to 27 to 10. I must say, I do enjoy it. I haven't watched as much cricket as you guys, but I did have a little wager on Baba Azhar, man of the match, at 7-1, and what an innings he put in there. But of course, Pakistan, you're quite right, Henrik. You don't go flying into Pakistan, because they can have 12 runs to get in 24 balls with 7 wickets in hands, and they can lose by 5. That's just the sort of team they are. But great. So there's cricket to look forward to as well. But Henrik, great having you on the show. Brendan's going to stay on to talk some Gallagher Premiership. But thanks for your contributions, and I look forward to seeing you on again soon. The laptop worked well.
Cheers, thanks, guys. Enjoy the weekend for you to bookies hard.
Cheers.
Excellent. Yeah, that's it. Hit the bookies hard, as Henrik said there. And Brendan, we can now go and talk a little bit of Gallagher Premiership. And the first game, I've taken just the handicaps down. I couldn't find any points lines early doors, but we've got the Saints -7.5 against London Irish.
Yeah, Brent, I think the Saints one is the only game I can really talk about with a bit more confidence, because it's the only game they've released the team sheets.
Okay.
I haven't seen any points released for that game either. But, I think Saints to me, -7.5 is appealing. I wouldn't fly into that game either, but that would be my bet. I see London Irish are missing a couple of players, a couple of key players, Sean O'Brien, Augustine Creevy, Brophy Clues, I think is their centre. So a bit light on players away to Northampton. Northampton have a couple of guys back for that game. And they've been playing good rugby, as of late. I had a disappointing game against Ulster. Look, I was in Ulster last weekend, but the discipline let them down with a couple of yellow cards, which eventually cost them in the end. I think they were playing with 13 men in that first half. But I'd probably go Saints -7.5, or if you want, maybe Saints at 4-10, 35-100 in a multi.
In a multi, right? Well, I'll run through the others. I appreciate the fact that you're not going to be able to commit to any here, but just any thoughts maybe in what we should look out for team selection and that. Exeter -10.5. They were in the end well beaten by Leinster last week. I was on Leinster, and then I think you pressed Leinster as well when they were like 14-0 down. And that's just the sort of side they are. They can come back. But for me, Exeter have been disappointing this season. And, also not being too clued up on team news, but I thought 10.5, might be quite big.
Brent, you say that, but once again, I think Exeter will be the kind of team to bounce back there. They just got too much class with all the internationals back. Wasps have been very poor, of late. Although they did have a good game against Montverne at home. They've also been very, very disappointing in their form. I just don't know if their coach Lee Blackett is the guy for them. But I can expect a big response from Exeter to that loss to Leinster. So I'd be on the -10.5 here against Wasps.
Right, -10.5 Exeter, but waiting for team news on that, obviously.
If guys like Stuart Hogg and I see Jack Noel is back. I mean, I love Jack Noel at right wing. I see he is back. Guys like Stuart Hogg, they can actually rip these guys apart. So, and Wasps have been very poor. I know they've got guys like Alfie Barbary is big for them. He had a storming game against Newcastle. Their lock, I can't think of his name right now. Joe Launchbury, he's come back into the fold in the last 2-3 games. He's also been big for them. So they're slowly but surely getting guys back. But they're just not the same Wasps team that they were under Dai Young and Lee Blackett. Just something missing there. They've just been very poor. So Exeter to me are the English champs. There could be a long night for Wasps there.
Right, let's then move on to the next game, and that's the Sale Sharks up against Gloucester. And here we got the Sharks -8.5.
Yeah, Brent, this is an interesting one because we take into account now. This is an interesting dynamic because taking into account teams that have played 2 hard weeks of European rugby versus a team that's been rested. So Gloucester have been rested. They didn't play last week, they played the week before. They played, I think, La Rochelle at home, but then they had a week's rest. And, Sale was soundly beaten by La Rochelle. Raymond Rule and Dylan Lates tore them up. Can you believe it? Raymond Rule.
What a player that guy's become. I mean, I must be honest, I was on the La Rochelle -5.5, but the last couple of weeks when I've looked at the team lists and I've seen I was never the greatest Dylan Lates fan either. And I saw Raymond Rule, and I'm like, geez, but can La Rochelle be that strong? And then I saw them play. And, Raymond Rule's like a different player. He must be, I never would have thought I'd ever say this, but he must be a Bok contender on current form. He's been brilliant.
I was about to say, wouldn't he be great as a Bok bolter for the Lions?
Exactly.
Maybe especially for a warm-up game or something. I don't know, something like that. But no, he was super impressive. To me, it's always great. I love when guys do well. I'm never an anti-guys career. So, it just shows that maybe in a different environment and a different coach, guys excel. Maybe in SA there wasn't the right coaching, the right environment for him when he was. I think he was at the Cheetahs. Yes. But man alive, he looks a couple of kgs heavier and a couple of kgs stronger, and he tore Sale apart. So yeah, that was a good game to watch. So I do expect Sale to win the game, but I like Gloucester to keep it tight there. They should have Louis Rees-Zammit on the one wing and Johnny May on the other. I think Harris at outside centre is College International. So they've got a good, not a bad team. So yeah, I know Sale have put a couple of teams away. I'm just wondering how battered and bruised the bodies are after 2 very hard weeks. They dominated Scarlets, but had a very bruising encounter in France. Flying back now, Gloucester will be rested. So I'm leaning towards the plus on there.
Yeah, and if you're saying that Sale will win the game and Gloucester will beat the handicap, then this is definitely a game to look at the 1 to 12 point option.
Yeah.
Where you'll get Sale 1 to 12 probably at around about the 15, 16 to 10 mark, somewhere around there. Right, let's move on to the next game. Quins -16.5 against Worcester.
Yeah, Brent, this is a difficult one. I'll probably stay away from. You'd probably take Quins on the minus. Worcester have been absolutely abysmal. I don't think they've won. Don't quote me on it, but I don't think they've won this year. I think I say under correction, but they've been absolutely horrific. They just don't have the cattle at the moment. Whereas Quins are looking like a really, really good side. They'll be pushing now for contention for the player or for the sort of finals for the Gallagher Premiership. Looking fantastic with their front row. Marla, I think the West Province guy. Sorry, it just hasn't come through right now. But very, very strong front row. Danny Kerr and Marcus Smith looking really, really good. Esther Hazen at 12 for them. Absolute battering ram. So it's tough to see Worcester keeping pace, but it's a big handicap. But I'll stay away from that game rather.
Excellent. Henrik Swat just sharing some early memories of Raymond Rule, saying he thought he was going to be a Bok when he first saw him, and then things didn't go his way. And great, as the conductor says, to see a guy getting his career very much. I mean, not that his career was off track, but getting him, really elevating it to the next level. So great to see Raymond Rule playing so well there. Let's move on to the penultimate game of the weekend for us, Brendan. Newcastle Falcons plus 8.5 against the Bristol Bears.
Yeah, Brent, I like the Bears. Yeah, Newcastle faded quite badly. I think last week or the week before. Bristol Bears have got too much class for me with guys like I'm once again. I try to glean as much information from Pat Lam this week as I could, but it's difficult to see. I see Siali Pietau is back in contention. Max Malins, the English fullback. No, he's not that he plays fullback for England, but potential fullback /10 for England. He's back. You got guys like Randra. The only guys that are really missing is Harry Thacker and Luatua, who's their captain. He's quite pivotal. But I've got no time for Newcastle Falcons there. I'm all over Bears. They're one team that if they're in the mood, they can put teams away. Look, Falcons are very nuggety at home on that artificial turf. They can keep games tight. This is where I start leaning towards. This is what I actually like about this, the English, the Gallagher, and then European as well, is that if you see a team like Falcons, maybe a London Irish, they just don't have the squad depth to really maintain both tournaments. So I struggle to see Newcastle Falcons. I think they might be out in their legs for this game. Whereas Bristol Bears probably have 1.5 times to 2 times the depth they have, in quality players. So I think New Falcons could be caught a little bit tired off the European and Gallagher action. So I'm all over Bears there at -8.5.
Yeah, I must say, where I've had a bit of success with the Bristol Bears is going overs on their points. I think I was also, I guess people could tell from the way I've spoken, I've had a real roller coaster year. I'm up, but I've taken some massive chances and got lucky on a few occasions. And one of them was the Bristol Bears a few weeks ago, where I was high on their points, and they delivered quite nicely. They really do play a great game of rugby. So yeah, I would also be probably joining you on the Bears there. And conductor, let's get to the last game of the weekend. Then -3.5 Bath at home to Leicester, who I must say I've been quite impressed with of late.
Yeah. Well, Brent, I agree with you. Leicester have been very, very impressive, and I think they're in the semi-finals of the Champions Cup. And I think Bath are as well. Yeah, I think it's those two. So, but I mean, Bath are turning it around, quite drastically. But it helped getting guys like Toby Faletau back, and not all the guys being suspended for red cards. That helps tremendously. Not everybody's off off the field for 20 minutes at a time. Let me just have a stick for Henrik there.
You see, Henrik, the reason he's drinking the beer slowly is because you've left the show, so he has to talk all the time. He doesn't have time. Normally, when Henrik's talking, then you're swinging it down.
Yeah, it's that one I'll probably stay away from, Brent. And yeah, I'll wait for team news. Like you say, I've been very impressed with Leicester. But Bath have also come back in leaps and bounds of late, getting back their strong forwards. It depends if a guy like Sam Underhill is back for them. He wasn't in the European, I think the last European game, he wasn't there. He's quite crucial. But they're looking far better with guys like, Anthony Watson, Jonathan Joseph. They've got a good team. So to me, I don't know. You see, and this is another game where it's difficult to maybe understand the psyche after the European games, what these guys are going to be, looking at. Is Leicester maybe going to rather take a week off and say, listen, we're happy to let this one go, and we'll focus on the next one after 2 tough European weeks.
Yeah, I see they're up against Ulster on the 1st of May as well in Europe in the semi-final, and Bath at home to Montpellier. So going to be interesting. But I agree with you. It's that psyche, and you at the same time, if you can figure out what that psyche is, you might be able to gain a nice edge over the bookmakers. But it's always easier said than done. Brendan, thanks, man. That brings us to the end of the show. Let's just summarize your best bets for us on the weekend.
Brent, my best bet would be Blues on the minus. If you can get the best minus, if you can maybe try and find a 4.5, but you're probably going to find at best maybe 5.5 now. I can see the Blues doing the business tomorrow. I'm hoping Caleb Clark and Mark Tellier, really click. and Akira Ioane, when he comes on, doesn't have hands like feet. I just really, we just haven't seen a Blues game and absolutely dominated like they should, and I'm hoping tomorrow it'll be that game. That's probably my best bet. And another bet, which is worth mentioning, Brady82 on Twitter, who we obviously know as Louis, who comes on the show. Obviously all the Hilton housewives, the hearts go fluttering when he comes on for the game. So he pointed out that he likes Castra versus Toulouse. I think you can still maybe find around about 7 to 10. Might be able to get -1.5. As far as I understand, the teams haven't been announced, but there is a good chance. I haven't put any money down on the game yet, but there's a good chance that Toulouse will do a big turnover. They've had really 2 tough games against who they played in England. Shivets. I can't remember who they played in England again.
Don't look at me, mate. Don't look at me.
I'm trying to remember now. They had a tough game. They have a tough game in England. So I'll think of it now. Really tough game. And then they had a tough game last week in the pouring rain against Clermont-Auvergne. So I think that they may do a turnover. They've got Racing Metro next week at home, and then they've got the semi-final against La Rochelle. They've got the semi-final against Bordeaux. So I think this is a good game for Castra to win it. Their record at home is quite good. They've beaten a lot of top 14 sides at home. Their away record is pretty poor. But at 7 to 10, it's still good value. I'd probably take the -1.5 at 85 to 100 there for Castra. I can see Toulouse doing a big turnover.
Excellent. Yeah, so Castra at home there on the handicap. That's of course in the top 14. So I got a bet for you. We'll have our rugby best bet coming out tomorrow. But there's a bet I've been following a little bit in the cricket, which I haven't been getting that involved in, but it's been quite profitable. South Africa to hit the most sixes against Pakistan. Now, it's quite interesting. If you looked at the result the other day, you would think Pakistan would have hit more sixes than South Africa in chasing down 200 odd with like 2 overs to spare. But in actual fact, South Africa cleared the boundary more times. And South Africa, I'm pretty certain, I just don't want to mix up the ODIs with the T20s, but certainly I think in all 3 T20s, South Africa have actually got more sixes than Pakistan. And you can get even money South Africa to score more sixes than Pakistan. And I like that. I just think we've got more boundary hitters in our side. And even a guy like Baba Azam, who plays excellent innings, as he tends to deal in 4s more than he deals in 6s. And I think, that one might be worth, certainly I'm going to be following it until beaten. Of course, there's only one match left in the series. So, yes, I'll be stopping after this game no matter what.
Yeah, Brent, I must say I had quite a bit on Pakistan in that third one. And, I really, Baba Azam, is just in phenomenal form at the moment, and that's why he is the number 1 ODI batsman in the world. Unfortunately, we just don't have the bowlers at the moment with our main guys in RPL. But I like your bet of the sixes, especially with Janneman Milan. He loves that sort of he's got. I don't know how to describe his style. It's like a very agricultural pull shots. It's not a Jacques Callis free flowing beautiful finish. But it's efficient. As with Adam Markham, he also likes to lift over the boundaries. So I like that bet. So no, absolutely. The one thing I did see a comment, I think from Mark on the comments there. I don't know what your best return on your bank is, but look, probably 12% if at best. I don't know. Nedbank's probably offering 9 or 10 on maybe a long-term 5-year. Leinster at 45 to 100 or 5 to 10 is probably you're not going to find a better return than that against La Rochelle. You basically look at La Rochelle playing great rugby. I mean, 100%. I've sung their praises, but Leinster are just a different quality. I think start running granny, start getting the FNB deposits across, and start loading up on that price, because that's just to me. And I'd happily take the minus as well there. That to me is too short. Against pretty much, if you go look at that Leinster team, besides for one or two guys, maybe a guy like Scott Fardy, guys, it's tough to see. It's just tough to see who wouldn't make the Irish international side there against La Rochelle.
So if you were to look at that Leinster, if you were to look then at the Champions Cup, how would you feel then about Leinster 12-10 to win the tournament?
Yeah, it would be my. It's tough. It is tough. You
play to lose in the final.
To lose, yeah. Look, and that's going to be a good game. It'll be an excellent game with guys like Intermac, DuPont, Colby. It's tough to oppose, especially you got. I like Rory Arnold, Richie Arnold, big pack. I'd probably still like Leinster to outright, but that at 45 to 100, you won't get a better return. You won't get a better return at any financial institution.
I hear what you're saying to me there, Brendan. You say don't be greedy and go for the 12-10. Just take your 45%, man.
Just take your money. And just enjoy your weekend away at the Drakensberg.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure Mark will be joining on that one because he just pointing out that Leinster was short a few players against Exeter as well. But anyway, boys, that brings us to the end of the show. First of all, to all the guys in the live chat, thanks as always for your excellent contributions. Thanks to Henrik for joining us earlier. And thanks to the conductor. Always great to have you on the show. And now we know how to make you to drink your beer slow. We just have you talking the whole time. You actually, the guys who went on under 3.5 beers are collecting. Because normally they would be in trouble there. But Brendan, great having you on the show and look forward to seeing you in the coming weeks as well. And enjoy.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. And to the guys on the forum, guys, good punting. Don't be silly. This to me is a very, very tricky weekend. Hope you guys, smash the bookies.
Excellent. Well, when Brendan gives responsible advice at the end of the show, he's on under 3.5 beers. Clearly, that's very out of character. But thanks a lot, guys. Been great chatting to you. And as Hendrik said when he signed off, let's hit those bookmakers hard. Cheers all.